Okay. All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. My name is Wabi, and today we're joined by Insrt Finance. Loris, one of the founders, is behind the profile, and we're also being joined by Hentai Avenger, who's part of their biz dev team. And I want to thank our sponsor for today's show, Knowles Protocol. They're a non-custodial lending app with sustainable tokenomics and unique features for borrowers. It offers loans that are under collateralized with financing up to 150% without the risk of liquidation through its lease solution. Their pinned tweet is up here on the nest, so feel free to check them out. I want to welcome you guys to this interview and general discussion with Insrt Finance and Hentai Avenger. And so Insrt, by the way, guys, just a short little blurb. They're an innovative NFT finance protocol that simplifies the process of utilizing NFT-Fi protocols by allowing for the easy composition of various strategies, such as their shard votes, which we'll get into. And they also allow fractional access to blue chip NFTs, like Pudgy Penguins recently, and they also announced some pretty cool stuff for Bear Chain, and we'll have some of those guys up on tomorrow's Spaces. And so Insert's going to allow for a wider range of users to participate who don't necessarily have the capital to get into these blue chips. And so in this interview, we're going to dive deep into the features that they provide once they go live and capabilities of Insrt, and also explore some of its potential use cases over in the NFT-Fi space. And as you guys know, that's one of my narratives going into the next bull market, which I believe, as I've said before many times, all this year, I think we've bottomed. And I think this is a hidden gem that many people don't know about. So without further ado, let's get started. And I want to remind you guys that this space is being uploaded and streamed onto our YouTube channel. But of course, once the interview is over, you can also catch it up here on Twitter. So I want to welcome you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you guys are at Consensus to come and talk some shop with us, man. So let's go on ahead and get the conversation rolling. Loris, how are you doing today, my man? Good to have you up here, brother.
Appreciate it, and thank you for the great welcome. Yeah, it's the entire team right now. We're in Austin, spending some time around the side events at Consensus, having a great time. It's been a few days already, so yeah. At this point in time, we're just hanging out, thinking about the protocol and where we want to take things from here. Maybe we can start out with some introductions on my end and on Hentai's end as well to start out the conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good, man. Sounds good. And I see we're also joined by Inverse Bra, which is pretty sick, man. That's so cool, man. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, Loris, and then we'll go on over to Hentai. Hentai, I hope you're doing today. I hope you're doing good today, my man. Sorry for the slight stutter there, man. But yeah.
Sure. So my experience is primarily in economics and financial law. Been around the block when it comes to private markets and DLT, but started really, obviously falling in love with DeFi back in 2020. When DeFi summer started, it was pretty obvious that all the things that people have been working on for quite a long time when it comes to this technology were converging at that point, and the fruits of that labor really shown themselves for the past 3 years in spite of the bear market. What I found extremely interesting, and what kind of made me excited about NFT finance as a whole, is the fact that the NFT credit markets, which for those who don't know, or NFT lending, as how it's sometimes called, has basically grown at an extremely spectacular pace over the past 2 years, right? So basically, from almost nothing to almost a billion in lending volumes for what is a relatively niche market. But what I think NFTs provide is like they're an extremely cool asset class that it isn't just like a shit coin, and it's not just a shit coin with a picture on top. It's a mix of community, it's a mix of culture. There's a lot of interesting properties when it comes to every single collection, which increases, I would have to say, elements of potential volatility and variance, even if the liquidity really isn't there that much. And like the whole idea behind Insert was, there's a lot of these NFT finance primitives coming out. How about we build a simplified way to make NFTs productive by making it super easy for anybody to access the kind of strategies that are available in NFT-Fi? That's a short spiel about what Insert is all about. Our mission is to make NFTs productive and make NFT-Fi as accessible as possible. But I'm gonna hand over the mic to Hentai.
Cool. So, yep, nice to meet everyone. So, I grew up in a very traditional background and I got into trading back around 2016. I spent a lot of my time trading biotech and pharma, and then ended up finding myself trading at a floor for a good amount of time. And then, yeah, I would say around the summer of 2020, I kind of ventured into ETH DeFi and it all kind of just spiraled out from there, right? So, it was more like food tokens, getting rugged by Chef Nomi, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I just spend a lot of my time now just traveling, building some cool shit, and yeah, just trying to enjoy myself.
Well, that's what it's all about, man. Having fun. I think there's too many complex shit out there in the market, and I think we got to go back to the roots and just have fun, man. I myself, I had a fucking blast playing in the Frog Coin ecosystem. Won't name any names up here, but I've been having so much fun. That's very reminiscent of DeFi summer. Now that you mention it, kind of takes me back, brother. But yeah, man. So I understand that Insert Finance simplifies the process of utilizing some protocols by allowing for the easy composition of various strategies. Would love to know if you guys can explain more about the process of the fractional ownership and how it works for some of these blue chip NFTs through shard vaults. And of course, you can go into what the shard vaults are exactly.
Sure, I can cover all of that. So it would be best to start off with the specific problem that we want to solve. And the problem is a well-known one when it comes to blue chip asset ownership, and it's the obvious problem that a lot of blue chips are tremendously expensive on a per unit basis. And we're not the first fractionalization protocol, right? And fractionalization, of course, is it's just the start of what we're doing. Fractionalization has been attempted before by Fractional Art, now known as Tessera, by NFTX, but uh, where we think those previous attempts kind of went wrong was that they were building a DeFi-esque experience for folks who are interested in NFTs, and that's a slightly different audience, right? And what we have done with the shard vault is we make it very cheap. We make it extremely accessible for people to stay long in particular collections through fractional ownership of a blue chip asset, or in some cases, depending on the specific shard vault, a basket of assets for one collection. But what we do with that asset, with our existing shard vault mechanism, is that we use NFT lending primitives, for example, JPEG, to collateralize the asset, and the borrowed capital is deployed into a yield farming strategy. So when it comes down to like the base value proposition or the utility that the shard vault provides, it's you get spot exposure to blue chip collection in a cheap way, but secondly, you also get rewarded for staying long in that position through the yield farming mechanism. And thirdly, the position itself is represented by NFT, not an ERC20 token, like was previously done in other fractionalization primitives or protocols, but an NFT that you can trade on OpenSea that has its own secondary market. And with the shard vault, our intent was to create a native NFT user fractionalization experience. And so far, we have reached, if I'm not mistaken, at this point, it's 1.5 million TVL. And as a product, we're successfully generating quite a bit of fees. And we launched just 15 weeks ago. So this is just the start, but the shard vault is we people apparently really love the shards, and we're really happy to see that. It was really funny walking around consensus. I was at a Hashkey event, which is one of our which is actually the lead in our pre-seed round. And I just met people who were on, world white lists, people who have bought shards, people who have traded shards. And it's really, fucking cool flying over to Austin and seeing people who are fans of the protocol. So if there are any sharders here in the community, thank you. Thank you for supporting our team. And thank you for using Insert Finance. Really appreciate it.
If you guys understood how bullish I was on you guys, if only you guys understood, man. But anyways, from the conversation that we're having at the moment, I would like to know. I would like to know how users would be able to propose new vaults and also apply for a grant from the development fund. I read a little bit on that, and also these shard vaults that we're talking about. I feel like they offer an innovative way for users to gain some of these fractional ownerships from these NFTs. And would also love to know if Insert Finance does plan to expand its offerings beyond the blue chips like the Punks and the BYACs and things of that nature. I know you guys have been making a lot of headlines in these other communities, like Pudgy Penguins, and more recently, as I said, like the Bear Chain NFTs, which I'm also bigly bullish on.
Yeah, so how we see Insert is that it's yearn for NFT finance, right? So how we want to scale it over time is that a variety of exposures will be provided through a variety of bolts and a variety of mechanisms on the protocol. And how we want to accomplish that is by the core team. We build out the mechanism design, we design it, we implement that particular build, and each mechanism can provide, you can spin out hypothetically hundreds upon hundreds of volts, but we don't necessarily want to do that at the end. For example, if the shard bulb or like the core team is deeply involved in every single shard bulb release, but we do want to take a more, we do want to scale the protocol by allowing community members to propose their own volts. And how we would reward them is that they would have, they would be able to get a part of the protocol fees, and on top of that, other token incentives, right? So I wouldn't necessarily call this an asset management protocol, but folks will be able to create their own vaults in order to and set parameters for particular exposures based on our mechanism design that would allow them to, let's say, leverage the technology that we have built to offer their friends, or if they're a well-known, let's say, NFT insider, the ability to sort of like get exposure to their alpha. But that is something we're not actively building that. That's something where we would like to be, I would have to say, 6 or 8 months down the line. Right now, what we want to focus on is building out the shard vaults, scaling them, improving the shard, which is the NFT representing the position, improving the shard as a piece of technology, right? Making it function better as a derivative and track the prices of collections more accurately so we can start building out a healthy secondary market for shards.
Let's go, man. And I know that Insert Finance also utilizes a risk management layer and health monitors to protect depositor assets in these shard vaults. Could you guys explain how these features work to keep the depositor assets safe? I think something that's really overlooked in this market is the security aspect. So if you guys want to dive into that, man, really excited, brother.
Sure, it's actually not that complicated. So the main risk that we have is the fact that the JPEGs in the shard vaults get collateralized, and if we default, the NFT gets liquidated, which is obviously not what we want people to experience if they have purchased a shard via our protocol. As such, what we do is we have scripts on Open Zeppelin monitoring, let's say, the health ratio of each loan that we take. And we have an automated process in place wherein the funds from our treasury are used to pay down loans. If, let's say, the price of the underlying asset in the vault, for example, a bake or a punk or a bonga bear, if it depreciates, right? And in that case, we pay down a little part of the loan in order to maintain a healthy ratio. On top of that, we maintain a significant buffer above the liquidation threshold, just to make sure the sharders, that the possibility of folks losing their shards because the underlying asset has been liquidated, that possibility is quite remote unless we see massive downswings in the market. And we have seen massive downswings in the market, but our risk management system worked to pay down some of the loans, and everybody still has their shards. So we're very happy about that.
Sick, man. And I understand that you guys are having your own NFT collection that offers some pretty cool benefits like reduced protocol fees and early access to other products. If you guys can go into some detail about the benefits of holding that NFT, I think that'd be pretty cool. As I know that you guys are striving for the innovation side of things in the NFT fi space.
Sure. So the idea behind the Dawn of Insert collection was that we want to reward early community members who have been supporting us from the very start. And what users currently get by holding a Dot of Insert is automatic whitelist participation in every single one of the vaults. Where we want to expand the utility of the Dawn of Insert collection is offering reduced protocol fees, offering priority rights and protocol governance or voting rights. But on top of that, we are launching an incentivization campaign that we call Insert Seasons. And there will be a couple of seasons that will focus on a particular user action in the protocol. And Dawn of Insert holders that throughout these seasons will receive multiplication benefits as well as a particular community reward that we're going to be rolling out, let's say 4 to 5 months from now. But unfortunately, I can't talk about it. But all I can say is that all Dawn of Insert holders will be very, very happy.
All good, man. All good. And so, from what I'm understanding, shard owners collectively vote on all the strategies that they can use with their NFTs. How exactly does the voting process work?
To clarify, we're still not there yet. That is something that we will implement in the build relatively soon. But the idea is that over time, shard wall participants will be able to select the particular strategies on how that asset gets collateralized and where that yield gets deployed. And on top of that, shard holders can choose to liquidate the vault. So, for example, let's assume that the price of bakes have appreciated by, let's say, 10 to 15% ever since the shard vault was initialized. And on a pro rata basis, shard holders can vote to liquidate the vault so that they can capture that price appreciation, right? So the NFT held by the vault gets sold on the open market, and the proceeds are distributed to the shard holders.
Awesome, man. And I guess now we can dive more into the DeFi side of things. So, you guys have an absolute like sick user friendly interface that, in my opinion, really simplifies the process of utilizing NFT finance protocols. And would like to know if you guys can go into detail about the wrappers and also the integrations that would allow users to explore these yield options on their NFTs.
Sure. So what we effectively do right now is we wrap around different protocols in order to facilitate the implementation of a particular mechanism. For example, the shard vault, what it does, it wraps around two things. It wraps around collateralization primitives, NFT lending primitives, right? And then it wraps around yield sources. And what we basically want to do is build out mechanisms that wrap around these different primitives, but offer an access layer for users to basically get more sophisticated forms of exposure, but in a relatively simple way. And yeah, the idea is that each mechanism, for example, the shard vault is a great example. Each mechanism is built up of several wrappers, and the wrappers coalesce into a particular product, with the shard vault being our first product. But of course, we're thinking of a lot of interesting things that we may be able to roll out over the next 12 months, especially as the space scales, especially as the infrastructure layer and NFT finance becomes ever more sophisticated.
Sick, man. And my next question would be for Hentai Adventure. Hentai, man, I understand that you're a part of the biz dev team. So, how do you see Insert Finance being separated from all these other NFT fi protocols that you know you can't really separate them compared to the other platforms that are basically just a fork of another collection, right? Where they're just like, let's fucking go and all that stuff, and really this wag me culture, and all they have is a Twitter space and a JPEG.
Yeah, so I would like to say that the NFT space is still very, very immature in the sense that nothing's really built out on the infrastructure scale. So I think when it comes to the actual product and service that we provide, there's not a ton of overlap between our other like quote unquote competitors. But on top of that, we're launching like a multi-season campaign that we're going to run over the course of the summer. That'll be like surrounded around user deposits, and it'll give hopefully we're looking to quote unquote airdrop users over the course of a couple months. So yeah.
So as far as like the token is released, once the governance token is released, I understand of course like there's the airdrop component aspect as well as things like staking boost and all of that depending on the rarity of their NFTs. So how exactly like would the governance token work and how would it affect the DOI NFT holders?
Um, if
Due
we if
to
we
legal reasons, I can't answer that question.
It's all good,
we
man.
we we
It's all
we
good,
can't
brother.
answer
All
that
good.
question right now, unfortunately.
All good, brother. All good, man. So would you guys be able to discuss any future plans with Insert Finance beyond the shard vaults and how it plans to continue innovating in the NFT fi space?
Sure. So, touching on the shard vaults, what we'll be doing over the course of a few weeks is, um, without going into specific details before all the big announcements come out, is let's say we'll be implementing a new way how users can deploy capital to shard vaults in order to get their fractionalized exposures, and doing a lot of things that will make the shard as a derivative far more sophisticated, right? In terms of future mechanism design, what we primarily want to focus on is more of the NFT depositor side of things, right? What we currently, so at this point in time, as an NFT holder, the only way how you can unlock liquidity is by taking out a loan against your NFT, and then you have to figure out what you will be doing with that loan in order to make, pay back the loan and, get some kind of spread. And we haven't really seen things like prime brokerage mechanisms when it comes to NFT finance. So when you think of prime brokerage, Gearbox is a good example of how that exists in DeFi, and that is the direction that we're thinking about, right? So we're kind of like handling one side at this point in time, which are the folks who want NFT exposure but can't afford blue chips. But we believe that the NFT holder side is pretty underserved as well. There's a lot of NFT holders there, not just for blue chips, and they would like to unlock the liquidity from their NFTs without necessarily taking out a loan and taking on that risk. Sounds a bit vague, but it's a big problem, and we're looking into it. And you guys will see cool shit coming out in announcements in just a few months.
Awesome, man. I actually want to open it up to the crowd. See some recognizable faces here: Snorlax, Hagrid, DT, Kimchi, Tempest. If you guys want to come up, feel free to hit that request button. Invited you guys up to speak. Would love to have you guys up here if you guys have any questions for Hentai or Insert Finance. Would love to have you guys up and all that stuff. I think we only have about like 10 or so minutes left with you boys. Don't want to keep you held up here. Want you guys to have funny consensus and network and all that stuff. But if you guys are new to these spaces and all that stuff, if you guys are enjoying this content, feel free to follow these guys up here on the speaker panel. And also feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin. My name's Wabi. I host these spaces throughout the week here at Because Bitcoin. And it features innovative products just like Insert Finance, and we have spaces with founders, devs, people from the VC space, and some key opinion leaders like Ben Cowan and all that stuff. Feel free to follow us, and it's been a pleasure to have you guys up here. And we actually have Sefi. Sefi, what's going on, brother? And I wanna make it known to the crowd, if you're gonna come on up here and you're new to these spaces, don't be a dick. I have to say it. Don't be a dick. Don't be an ass. And yeah, that just has to be said. And also, don't be a fucking freak. There are a lot of freaks in these Twitter spaces, so don't be a freak and be kind. All right. So, Sefi, go on ahead, brother. Good to have you up.
So
Good
the
to have
first,
you up, man.
yeah,
Be
the
nice
first
to my
asshole question of the day.
be nice to my boys, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Maybe Insert can maybe describe a little bit about like how does the protocol itself sort of monetize this? How does it stay in business? What's the business model?
Sure, it's a great question. We do intermediation, so we take a little bit of an origination fee every single time that the vault is set up, and on the other hand, we take a little bit of a fee once the vaults are liquidated, right? Plus, there's a performance fee on top of the yield that the shard wallet generates. So there's 3 fees: one at the start, one for the yield, and one once the vault gets liquidated.
Kimchi, what's going on, brother? Go on right ahead, bro.
So, what do you think of the notion that if NFTs, if utility really becomes a thing, NFTs go to zero? So that's kind of how Polygon's the head of business development pitched it at Consensus the other day. He says if everything is going according to plan, the game plan is that NFTs go to zero because we finally have mass adoption, mass utility, and like we don't have these crazy price action regarding NFT projects.
It depends on what segment of the market you're looking at, right? So obviously, in our multi-year vision, we're actually betting on that more and more property rights and intellectual property and intangible assets will be represented on chain by NFTs. But I'm not exactly sure that, like, for example, that we're going to see the complete decimation of existing collections. People like speculating with NFTs. They like sweeping floors. They like the communities. So I think it's important to segment or distinguish NFTs as a technology, right? So, non-fungible token with metadata representing some kind of potential claim or just representing whatever, right? You can represent absolutely anything. I know a guy who's represented a company's balance sheet using an NFT, right? And distinguishing that, which is absolutely a good thing, right, for mass adoption, from I would have to say, the more speculative side, where, well, you have all coins with JPEGs, right? That's pretty much what it is, and this kind of has this because of the liquidity, has this kind of like commodities like feel, different kind of trading experience uh, relative to coins. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with Polygon's head of BD's opinion
With
that that
10G
market is going to
protocol.
collapse. Sorry.
So no, I was saying 5G protocol, but so a follow up I have is I like that you brought up the distinguishment between technology and how it's kind of being used right now as an identity, right? Because some people do make technology their entire sense of self. That's why we have people afraid, or like the Mac and PC wars. Some people that was their whole shtick. So I think it's just the growing pains of what this technology, which is nothing more than a tool, right, is going to be. So I'm excited to see it. Like I'm pro NFTs. I just want to see the landscape mature a bit. It needs some growing
Yeah,
pains.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How we see it, but this isn't like an original thought in any way. I think this is generally how people see NFTs, especially when you're thinking about the big picture, is that NFTs kind of went through their ICO era, right? And now we're at the point where people are thinking about building the MakerDAO, building Compound, building primitives using this technology. But what is exhilarating for us is the fact that, you might not get everybody to trade altcoins or engage in sophisticated DeFi operations and actions, but people love digital collectibles. People love aesthetics. People love things that provide a sense of identity, which is something that you mentioned as well. And what we want to do over time is encompass those aspects of NFTs once they reach more escape velocity. But at the same time, really focusing in on beachhead, which is, hey, you have this great group of super early adopters who love the culture, love the community. They like to speculate. They like to gamble. They want those lottery tickets, and facilitating a great user experience for them, and then concentrically expand as the base layer of technology improves. Hope that makes sense.
It did. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Listen, man. So this is a bit of a curveball take before we wrap up, man. I want to know. Listen, if Pepe were to have an NFT, right, and that team were to contact you guys and say, "Look here, man, we want to work with you," would you guys take that leap of faith and work with the Pepe team?
Hentai, what do you think?
It would come down to Bull Trapper's approval.
It's like a monster, dude. This ecosystem is truly a beast, man. And with what you guys are doing and adding in like some DeFi aspects to it, I think it'd be pretty sick and would really start like a cult movement, right? Loris, I believe you said something about like urine finance, right? And how I see that happening is you guys would be the first mover in what you guys are doing, and I think it'd be pretty sick, man. So I guess really the last question that I have outside of some roadmap stuff is like how exactly does longing and shorting NFTs work? Like, do you short and long against the floor on Ethereum or on like the the USD price of said NFT relative to Ethereum? I've always found that confusing, right? Because there are some protocols where you're able to do that, and it's like if there's like a long on Bored Apes, right? And some dumbass like sells his Bored Apes for like 20% of the floor price, you get liquidated on that long. So I've always been confused on like how the longing and shorting stuff works with NFT fi.
Sure. So we don't offer perps. That's something we're definitely not interested in. Yeah, when it comes to perpetuals, and NFTs, there's a pretty, if you look at NFT perp, I think the answer is already there. Like 90% of the trades on NFT perp it's basically short. It's shorts all across the board, right? And there's lots of cool protocol. We do know that there's quite a few other people building NFT perps protocols out there as well. And yeah, it's basically what you take is you speculate on the spot price. It goes up, it goes down, but because spot prices can function as step changes, it's a completely different experience compared to, I don't know, like DYDX or GMX. Um, Perps are helpful, and there's a lot of adoption. If I'm not mistaken, NFT Perp has generated already 500,000 fees from their private trading competition. So that whole space is definitely we're definitely looking at it. And if we don't want to build it, and if anybody here is enough of a degen to take bets on NFTs, I would suggest checking out NFT Perp or any of the other perpetuals protocols that'll be coming out in the next 2 or 3 months.
Let's go. I'm ready to fucking ape. Well, I've brought in a Bull Trapper. Sir, I know you requested to speak. I'm going to ask you kindly, before you proceed, to be as kind as possible. Find it in your heart to be as kind as possible, but nonetheless, welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well. What's up, brother?
Damn, that really threw a wrench for what I was about to say, but
Calm down, Brian. I've seen your posts, man. I've seen your posts, and Suzu
well
was
then
actually in. Go ahead, go ahead.
because you asked so nicely, I'll just say hentai Avenger sucked my weenus, and that's all I wanted to say.
I see. Hentai. I hope you didn't take any offense to that.
No, I love Mr. Bull Trapper.
Okay, cool. Like I checked his mutuals and Big Dog Capo and my boys over at DopeX follow him, so the coast was clear. The coast was clear.
Gonna use some corporate jargon and bring it back to the Pepe thing. It was not too like less than 2 weeks ago. The guy who started Pepe launched his own Pepe NFT collection. Obviously, not financial advice and everything, but there you go.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Believe they're called the Zogs. But
Unfortunately, guys, we have to bounce
yeah,
soon. We have
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
head off
yeah.
to an event here at Consensus. It was great being on the space though, and thank you for the awesome welcome and for the questions as well.
No problem, man. Thank you so much for coming on up, bro. Looking forward to what you guys are gonna build in this industry, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the audience.
Appreciate it.
And thank you so much to our speaker panel. Yep, we're right at 40 minutes. So feel free to follow these boys over from Insrt Finance and our speaker panel. And yeah, thank you all so much. We'll be back on Spaces tomorrow at 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. And once again, if you enjoy these spaces, feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin. Every follow counts and all that crap. So, anyways, and shout out to our sponsor, Nullus Protocol, once more, man. Excuse the curse words and all that. So, peace out, guys. God bless you all.
Thank you, everybody.